There is a historical pattern and correlation between gold and Bitcoin. I'm going to show you that and what smart investors are doing right now on these two different asset class, and what you can also take advantage of as well, and which one is the best for investment from historical standpoint, and what the performance is using price changes. I'm going to show you all of this in this very video. But the first thing here is, when you talk about gold and Bitcoin correlation, you have to understand that there are variety of changes, and you need to look at it from a very critical standpoint. And if you look at this very area on the Bitcoin price action, but before I talk about this, look at gold first. If you look at 2019, okay, look at it right here, 2019, I am on gold USD, and this is the 1 week chart. If you look at 2019, this was 2019 September. Look at this very area. So 2019 September, okay, gold retraced a little bit back down after a move in that 2019. So around the ending of 2019, we see a retracement on the price of gold, and then into the beginning of 2020, during the pandemic, markets move upward on gold, okay, into this very area. To be very exact, this very point was August 2020, when we begin to see some little changes in the pandemic, okay. And when hope actually came as a result of the COVID vaccine and all of those stuff, you see gold begin to decline, which means people begin to bring out money from gold to invest into other riskier assets. And gold begin to decline right here into 2021. Now, look at the price of Bitcoin from the same price level and timing. August 2019. So if you come to the price of Bitcoin right here and you look at August 2019, look at it right here. At August 2019, it discovered that the Bitcoin price was actually declining or remaining stable. So this was within a range. Market was actually going back down gradually, not aggressively, but you can say that this is within a range. Market was not moving upward, neither was market moving downward on the price of Bitcoin. So from August 2019, it discovered there was a ranging market on the price of Bitcoin into the COVID-19 period. Market came back down as the pandemic hit the various markets, especially in February, March, April. Look at it right here. Market came back down on the price of Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin is a more riskier asset compared to gold. And then market begin to recover a little bit into this very period. Then market move upward at this very point. That was July. And then we see a breakout of the range within this very area. That was October 2020, okay? And that was when hope came into the world as a result of the COVID vaccine and other vaccine that actually tackled the situation. But if you look at this very area right here, it is covered that this very point was when the market on gold escalated, okay, during the pandemic. And this very point, to be very exact, this is October 2020. And if you look at this very point as well, October 2020, that was when Bitcoin began to explode all the way to the upside. So the explosion stopped on gold around this very area because market was increasing before the pandemic and in the pandemic, and the market began to come back down. After the market paused and began to come back down on the price of gold, we see that Bitcoin begin to pump very aggressively into 2021. Okay, look at it right here. 2021, around this very point, December 2020 and 2021, around this very area, market begin to move upward. We see retracement, market move upward into this very area. This was November, December 2021, and the market come back down again. Very important correlation between gold and Bitcoin. This is super, super important. Now, if you take a look at after 5 years of this correlation, look at the beginning of this very year, or later part of last year, that is the ending of 2024, and you correlate it with what is happening right now on the price of Bitcoin and gold. Let's do that together again. If you look at this very area on the price of Bitcoin, and if you look at from this very point, we have, this was the ending of 2024. Okay, market move upward on the price of Bitcoin from this very point 2024. We see a breakout on the price of Bitcoin around this very area in November 2024. Market move upward, come back down, move upward again. This move is not as significant as what we saw in 2021 on the price of Bitcoin after gold pause moving. If you look at the price of gold within this very period, that is October 2024, let's look at what price have done on the price of gold from October 2024 till this present time. That is this very month, October 2025. That is about 1 year, or 1 year to be very exact. So if you look at gold right here, and I go to this very point and I try to figure out this very chart myself, to this very area where we have October, okay, this was October 2024, okay, within this very area. We see that before the October 2024, market was actually moving up on gold, creating new all-time highs. And then we see a little bit of retracement right here in December, and then market moved up again February, March, this very year 2025. Into this very area we see consolidation, and then right now market escalated in the past few months. Okay, we see market escalation in August and September this very year 2025. So if you look at this very price action, you discover that market actually moves sporadically this very year. Okay, take into consideration from January this very year at this very point, let me mark it out at this very area. This was January 2025. Market has moved sporadically upward. And if you look at the move right here and compare to what we have in the price of Bitcoin, we have January right at this very point. See January at this very area. So January 2025 at this very point, okay? And where the market is right now, you discover that if you look at January, where the market was in January 2025, you discover that market was at this very point of $103, around that very area. And where the market is right now is $114, approximately $115K. So if you look at it, there is no much difference. Bitcoin have not moved much compared to what gold have done. Look at it right here. January 2025, gold was $2,600. Okay, look at it at this very point, $2,600. But right now, in this very month of October, it discovered that gold has moved and created multiple all-time highs. It had hit this very level of $4,300 per ounce of gold, and right now market is dropping down. Okay, so what that means is, if there is always a good move before a Bitcoin escalation, it means that at this very point, since the difference between what price have done since January 2025 to what price have done up till this very moment on the price of Bitcoin is not significant, because the difference between 103K and 114K is not much. But if you look at what price have done on the price of gold from 2,600 to where the market has hit this new all-time high to 4,300, that is significant. And this is very, very important considering the volatility of these two different asset classes. So the next thing I want to see personally, following this very little correlation, is an escalation on the price of Bitcoin. Okay, and that should happen once we see a breakout of this very area right here. I am expecting that the breakout should happen within this very point. Once we see a breakout of this very level, then there should be a serious escalation on the price of Bitcoin, and that is what I'm expecting. So in the next coming weeks, 1 month to be very precise, in my opinion, I am expecting that the price of Bitcoin move upward, and I should see a bullish candle, okay, from the 1 week chart that close above this very close of $123,000. Once the market close above this very close, then I'm going to expect a very serious escalation on the price of Bitcoin, and my target is at this very area of $200K for 1 Bitcoin. And that is what I want to expect on this very price action right now. So from here, there should be an escalation of price up to this very area of $200,000 minimum, in my opinion, on the price of Bitcoin if we see this breakout, which I believe from this correlation and what has happened, markets should move this much. And the reason why this is very serious right now is because we are now seeing a decline on the price of gold. What this decline means is that people or smart investors, since gold have moved this much, they are now removing money from gold and putting it into a riskier asset, for example, Bitcoin. Look at it right here, what happened in the past in 2021. Like I showed you earlier on this very price action, if you look at 2021 right here, so we have 2021 within this very point, okay? Market begin to decline ending of 2020, and that was when we see Bitcoin begin to escalate. So market begin to decline the price of gold, okay? Later 2020, around this very September, October into 2021, market begin to decline, and that was when gold declined. So Bitcoin begin to pick up. So Bitcoin pick up happened that very period as well. So if right now we are seeing a decline on the price of gold at this very point right here, then it means that Bitcoin is going to pick up as well, because money is actually rotating between these two asset class, which is very crazy to invest in right now. So for gold, in my opinion, it is not the right time to buy gold right now, because I am personally expecting this very decline to happen significantly all the way to the downside, approaching this very area, okay, this very point. That is my personal opinion. This very point on the 1 week chart, market should approach this very area of $3,500. That is, we should see continued decline. Of course, market will not just drop crazily into this very area. That's not a possibility. Market is going to move as it's moving right now, and then we may have some move upward, come back down, move upward, come back down, move upward, and then gradually enter into this area and then begin to pump again. And that is why you need to understand how this movement occur on this very price action. Now, to further buttress this, if you come to this very chart, this is a correlation chart between gold and Bitcoin. This very area, as you can see right here, represents gold, and this represents Bitcoin. Of course, this very white one represents Bitcoin price and good correlation. So if you look at the correlation right here, you discover that there's always a spike in the price of Bitcoin after gold reaches a new all-time high and then have a little decline. If you look at this very area, you discover that gold moved upward, and then all of a sudden from this very point we see a spike in the price of Bitcoin up to this very point. And then gold continued to move, Bitcoin decline, because there must be rotation of money between these two asset class. Market move upward on the price of gold, and afterward, little retracement, market begin to pick up on the price of Bitcoin. Look at what happened right here as well in 2021. Okay, 2020, entering into 2021, market move upward during 2020, and then a little decline right here. Market on the price of Bitcoin move upward and create a new all-time high. And each time Bitcoin move from this historical data, you see that the percentage increase always outperform that of gold. Very important. It always outperform that of gold because it's a riskier asset, although the return is very high. So if you look at this, market move upward, come back down, move up again, come back down. So as Bitcoin was coming back down, money actually rotates into gold, and gold begin to pick up again. So you see gold begin to move upward, and Bitcoin outperformed it as well. So right now, look at where the chart is at this very point. Gold has actually hit multiple highs this very year 2025, and if you look at this very point, Bitcoin is still very low. It's down right now. Okay, in my opinion, Bitcoin is down, and there is going to be a very drastic explosion or escalation on the price of Bitcoin very soon. And that is why this price action is very important, because very soon we're going to see a flip over by BTC price chart. So this is a very important correlation to take a look at, because Bitcoin is going to definitely move upward as we begin to see the price of gold right here cool off for correction, because this correction means that people are actually collecting profits. People that bought around this very area, or people that bought around this very area, market move upward, they have to collect profit. And when they collect profit, what happens? They don't just dump the money, somewhere or in the bank. They rotate the money into another asset, and that asset class is Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, of course. So Bitcoin, in this very case, to be very specific, is where the money is going to rotate into for the market on the price of Bitcoin to move upward. And that is what you need to expect, to be very precise. Once you see the market on the price of Bitcoin 1 week chart move upward and break out of this very range, because this is a range, as you can see right here. Once you see that very bullish candle that close above this very price region of $123,000, once that happen, then market is going to have a major escalation on the price of Bitcoin, and this is going to happen in the next 1 month. In my opinion, it can stay longer than that, but in my opinion, I'm expecting this to happen in the next 1 month. That is in November. Latest December, we should see this begin to happen on the price of Bitcoin. Now, here's another example of the Bitcoin gold price changes. Let's say, for example, you invest in gold or you invest in Bitcoin. Let's look at 3 years ago. So let's look at a 3-year correlation between gold investors and Bitcoin investors. If you look at it from this very standpoint, it is covered that if you invested in gold at this very area, this was around 2023, it is covered that the percentage increase on the price of gold throughout 2023 compared to that of Bitcoin has outperformed gold as well. Look at this very area right here. Gold at this very point, and then Bitcoin at this very area. Bitcoin has outperformed it also. Very important. And if you look at a 5 years correlation, look at this 5-year correlation right here. The difference is very clear. I'm not saying that you should focus on Bitcoin or focus on gold. I'm only trying to let you understand a correlation between these two asset class and how investors flip money from gold into Bitcoin. Of course, you can decide to be holding gold only for a very long time, 10 years, 20 years, that is very okay, that's fine. Or you can also decide that you want to hold Bitcoin for 10 years, 20 years. That is also okay, that is also very fine. But for smart investors like you and myself that is watching this video right now, you flip the money from gold to Bitcoin. Although you can say, okay, there are some of your portfolio that you don't want to touch. Let's say, for example, you can say, okay, this amount, I don't want to touch it. You can keep it there for 20 years, 30 years, as the case may be. But there is this money that move around for smart investors. And that is why this correlation is important. So if you pay attention to this correlation very well, discover that Bitcoin has outperformed gold. However, what we're looking at taking advantage of is when gold begin to have a decline, just like we're seeing right now. When gold begin to have a decline, Bitcoin is about to flip over because money is beginning to flow into Bitcoin that time. That is why, if you look at this very point, market is going to move upward in the next 1 month, in my opinion. In the next 1 month, that is after or before the end of November, we will see Bitcoin price action flip over and begin to escalate all the way to the upside. And this is very, very important. The final look at this very price action is this very area of consolidation. Look at something very crazy right here. If you look at this very point, you discover that this was April, this very year 2025. Gold was actually consolidating within this very price range. Okay, within this price range, we see gold consolidate within this very area. Okay, this was April into May, into June and July, okay, and little part of August. Now, if you come to Bitcoin, what was Bitcoin doing that time? Look at it. April, Bitcoin moved upward into May, and then we see this very move into June, and then we have July at this very point, and then into August at this very area. This was later part of August and into this consolidation. What that also tell you is that anytime you see a pause on the price of gold, either gold is ranging or gold is coming back down for retracement, there is always going to be 80-70% of the time from this correlation that the price of Bitcoin is going to definitely escalate. And that is why you should not pay deaf ears to this very correlation. This correlation is very, very important. Pay attention to this as a smart investors to know when the price of this asset actually changes and the market is going to begin to move all the way to the upside, because that is when you take good investment decision and invest aright. If you want to follow many of my prompt updates on this very Telegram channel, link in the description of this very video and also in the pinned comment. Join right now. It is a free Telegram channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.